My next guest is coming off one of the best knockouts we might see this year, maybe in MMA history. He's coming off that flying knee over Frankie Edgar at UFC Fight Night on February 6th. Of course, I'm talking to the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen. How are you, sir?
I'm good, James. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I got to know, I was glancing at your social media. I see you've almost got 177,000 Instagram followers. How has life been since that knockout? Because we're like a couple weeks removed now.
It's the same, man. Win or lose, it's always usually the same. I was in Miami for a week after the fight, cornering one of my teammates out there for Titan. And then I came home, and now I'm just living normal life again. And I'm really excited to be back, man, because those quarantines during fight week feel really long.
Right.
And then just a week in Miami, which, Miami isn't really my gig, was really long too. So I'm happy to be home, man. It's all kind of the same.
Yeah. Did you find though, like, I know you're not like a social media guy in terms of like, like getting into the clout and all that stuff. Like you're just like, you want to fight, you want to just have your normal life, whatever. But have you noticed the response being a lot different since that knockout? Because not only was it an impressive win, but you knocked out a legend in Frankie Edgar.
Yeah. I suppose a little bit, to be honest. But also, man, I think that in this sport and with where I am, it's always like one more, like 100,000 followers. It's always like, hey, now let's get 250. Now let's get 1 million. Now let's get 2 million. And I don't think that will ever end. So it's exciting, to like be going through the process. But those little things I think don't ever really go away.
Right. How many followers did you go up? Was it 100,000 or how much was it?
I have 100 now. So I think I was at like a little bit under 60. So about 40, 45 or so.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. That's good. Yeah. Anyways, enough about that. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the fight. I wanted to know, is that something that like, that flying knee, was that something that you drill in training? Was it an opening you saw? Like I was curious, the sequence that set up that flying knee to Edgar.
Sure. Yeah. So I've had a little bit of time to kind of like, when you're fighting, things are happening really quick and you're kind of just reacting while you're out there. Mm-hmm. But after watching it and kind of like, going back and going over like what I was thinking during that time, Frankie was getting really close to me, and I, when I was against the cage, I wanted to see more so what he was going to do, what his strategy was, if it was going to be to take me down right away, or if it was going to be to punch a little bit or whatever. And then he threw a combination, and I kind of saw a little pep in his step, and I felt like he kind of thought like, oh, it's easier to get in on Sandhagen than I thought it would be. And then I threw a kick, and I heard his coach say, oh, very nice, very nice. So I felt his confidence kind of get, like I'm sure in his world, he was like, oh, okay, like I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And then, and so I figured he was going to step in pretty hard. And then that's when I just, the body just did it on its own. But yeah, I just jumped, and it's definitely something that, I do. Like I do enjoy throwing that, me being taller and me fighting shorter guys that are going to probably try to wrestle me for my entire career. Yeah. That's something that I definitely do. So it's not like it was like he got caught or anything. But I think that's what happened, man, is he got really confident. I felt him get a little bit confident, and as he stepped in, I kind of knew he was going to step in hard, and that's kind of when I threw it.
Do you feel like not having the crowd there actually played in your favor because you heard that corner advice? Like, do you think had the crowd been there, you might have not heard that?
I think that makes a big difference in these fights coming up. I know I've talked about it with my coaches where, we play that a little bit where it's.
Do you like code words like in the NFL or something like Riker 42 or something like just to like throw them off so they don't know what you're trying to do?
Not so much code words, but it's more of like it's more of like an understanding of like, hey, you told me to do this, so I'm going to do something a little bit different, and then I'll go back to that. That was kind of the situation with Marlon when I kicked him in his eye pretty good. Mm-hmm. I had landed a couple good body kicks, and then my corner said, we like that body kick, and then that's when I went high. So it's kind of just this mutual understanding of that. But yeah, I definitely think that having the no crowd definitely makes it so, you could be a little bit more manipulative in that way, but also like you can definitely hear what their corner is saying too. And yeah.
Well, I'm a stats guy, as you know. I like, looking at records and stuff. And Frankie's sort of theme throughout his career has been durability. And I know as you get older, that sort of, goes away a little bit. But he'd only been finished twice in his career. He's never been finished at bantamweight. Like, did you feel like, obviously you go into every fight feeling you can finish anyone, I mean, with your ability. But did you honestly feel like a first round finish was a likely outcome for you, just with, Edgar's durability and the fact that he is, pretty tough to finish overall in his career?
Sure. I do my best to not have too many expectations. My expectation for this fight was I'm going to have to work my ass off in order to win this fight. Like I anticipated 15 minutes of wrestling, and that's what I was ready to do. So having it go the way that it did was definitely a little surprising. But at the same time, when I walk into the cage now, I'm a bit of a different person than I was before. I'm not there to, have really spectacular performances and look like a really good fighter and this and that. Like, I'm in there to win, and I'm in there to like hurt the person that's in front of me. And that's like my new mindset. So when I go out, I think you guys have seen in the last two fights that's where my head is. And, that's what's been happening. And obviously I'm really excited that I'm kind of getting that part of the game really, really under wraps.
Well, I think what's so impressive is that, like, you lost a fight 3 fights ago, and like I can't remember in recent memory a fighter having 2 better performances after losing a fight like that. Obviously the implications are high here, but have you been given sort of an indication from the UFC that you're sort of in that mix now for the title with that win, with the way you finished it, regardless of what happens on March 6th?
My agent is talking to them, I think, sometime this week or next week. So I don't really know. I also don't know, man, because, I'm fairly, I have the ropes under me a little bit, but I'm fairly new in how kind of the business side works. Like, I know nothing about business. I know nothing about what sells, what doesn't sell. That's not my lane. So I don't really know how much emphasis to put on, like, hey, are they going to go a route that's going to make maybe more money than me fighting for a title, or if they're going to, or if they're going to push me a lot more in the marketing area so that I'm this and that. Like, I have no idea how business works. I have no idea how the UFC thinks. So I'm not really sure, but I do know that I probably will know in the next couple of weeks, and I'll definitely know right after that fight in March.
I know we talked about the social media thing, but I was curious, did any celebrities or people you didn't know reach out and say, hey, congrats, like, great knockout, anything like that? Because that thing went viral, right?
Yeah. Not that I know of too much.
Or maybe anyone you did know that is pretty famous? I don't know if you know anyone that's in that
honestly, one of the coolest ones, usually Joe Rogan sends me a nice message. Like, he sent me a nice message after the Marlon fight, and then he sent me a nice one after this one too. And then I'm a really big fan of Theo Von.
Awesome, of course.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of his too, and he's kind of, he's interested in MMA, so he sent me a nice message also. That was nice. But no, I don't. If you ask me to name 5 famous people, I don't think.
No, I know, and I love that about you. You're just very like,
Yeah.
you kind of do your own thing, and that's good. I think I
Yeah.
was actually just talking about this on my Q&A this morning about how people get so caught up in the cloud of celebrities, like this whole Julian Marquez thing, right? Like, everyone's blaming Julian. I'm like, Miley's no different than anyone else. Like, who cares? She's a celebrity. Big deal. Have you been seeing all that about the whole thing with that?
The Valentine's Day thing?
Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah. No, I don't know anything past then.
No worries. We don't even need to get into it. It's just
Okay.
it's funny. But it's kind of that same thing of like people getting kind of fascinated with celebrities and stuff. So
I mean, it is part of it, and we are living in the world of like that does matter. So maybe I should put more emphasis on it, because it definitely does make a difference. It definitely does matter. Like your followers, I do know that the UFC does care about that. Like, I've heard that. That's like a direct correlation to how many people are going to watch the fights and stuff. So it's definitely an important part, but it's something that, like, I myself, as much as I try to care about it, I can't get myself to do it, man.
No, I hear you. I'm sure you saw that video of your teammates reacting to your fight. Curtis Blades, Neil Magny, all sitting by the TV. That was so good that they had filmed that. I thought that was so awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. That made me so happy too, man. Like, one of my favorite parts about, like, when I do my visualizations and stuff is I'll do like the post-fight things that happen after my
cool.
visualizations. Because that really gets me motivated. And, one of my favorite things, man, is like knowing that, like, people were sitting in a room, hundreds, thousands of miles away, halfway across the world or whatever, watching me, and like I got them excited. Like that's a really cool experience for me. Yeah. So to have that on camera was really, really cool. Everyone should do that.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, you mentioned Rogan. Would you ever go on his podcast?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting getting you on there and talking about some of the visualization stuff. Although not now. Poor Texas. Thoughts and prayers. I mean, they're dealing with some Colorado weather out there. It's been pretty nuts. So.
Seriously, yeah, and they're not prepared for it either. That's pretty scary, man. You don't have to deal with nature that often, so when you do, you realize how strong it is.
Yeah, no one's safe. And then just one more thing on like sort of post fight. What did Justin Gaethje say to you after the fight? I'm sure he gave you some props.
Have I seen Gaethje since then? I don't know that I've seen Gaethje.
Should give you some props. You got like a Gaethje-like finish in that fight. You know what I mean? Maybe not flying knee, but yeah, he does get like knockouts like that, right? So.
Yep. I haven't seen Gaethje since then. I did see the reaction of Usman and Gaethje also. Mm-hmm. That was kind of cool to see. But I know actually before the Frankie fight, Gaethje was like, "Man, I really hate that you're fighting Frankie," and I was like. I'll feel the same way after I fight him too. But for now, I gotta stay focused on it. But he was like, "But I'm on your side," And what did he say? He was like, "In matters of life and death, you got to choose a side." And he was like, "And I'm Team Elevation all the way."
Good. That's awesome that he said that. Now, TJ Dillashaw, obviously, everyone's been asking about him and all that. I'm hearing some rumblings about him fighting Faber. What do you think of that? Because I know, I know part of you would want that fight just because of the fact that it's, there's some history there, and also he's a pretty big name in the division. I'm sure it'd be a nice payday and stuff, right?
Yeah, he's a huge name. It's going to come. I mean, that's going to come with a lot of perks. It's going to come with a lot of new opportunities, probably a lot more followers, and probably a new contract. So.
Are you sorry? Do you have one left on your deal? What's your contract status?
I think I have one more left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lloyd's going to be working overtime this week. Then you got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, it's going to be a long meeting he's going to have. But yeah, I mean, I would love to fight TJ. Me and him used to train together. It was years ago now. And yeah, I mean, he's a big name. It wouldn't be anything personal. It would just be like, hey man, like you have a lot of buzz still around you. You're coming off of a suspension. You're a huge name. You were one of the best guys to ever be in this division. And it would just mean I just want to beat TJ. It wouldn't mean anything past that. Yeah. But yeah, I would love that fight. I think I deserve the title shot, but I mean, I'm not one to sit around and play that game. I like getting in fights. I think it's better to not sit on the bench for too long, just crossing your fingers that, the UFC will give you what you want. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep earning whatever I got to earn, and that's it.
I don't want to get anyone in trouble in here asking this, and I know you use your discretion here, but, the drug use obviously came up with, at Team Alpha Male. Were you hearing anything about that? Is there anything you could talk about in regards to that with when he was training there about some of the use? Because he's claiming it was just for the Cejudo fight, but I think a lot of people feel like it was long before that.
I never heard anything that was like that. I
no red flags.
No red flags where I would speculate on anything like that, especially that being a pretty serious thing to say about someone.
Exactly. That's why we're trending lightly here. Just want to point that out to people. Oh, you're trying to get clickbait. It's like, no, I'm asking him in a respectful manner so we can figure this out, right? If there is any tidbits you can mention.
No, I trust you, man. You're a good interviewer. Yeah,
well, I
trust you.
That.
But I will say, EPO, it's hard to believe that that's the first thing that you use if you're going to use a PED. You're probably going to do something different than sticking a needle in you, right. to get an unfair advantage before that. But so that's a little bit hard to believe. But as far as red flags or anything, none really.
See, fighters take note. That's how you answer that question, by the way. Troy did it perfectly in spades here. I want to throw a couple other names out at you. Jose Aldo is a name that, is still prevalent in the division. He's coming off a big win over Chito Vera. Is that an option for you, or do you feel like in some senses you're ahead of him with the 2 wins you've got?
I feel like I'm ahead of him, to be honest,
okay.
Which I never thought that I would say because I have a ton of respect for
100%.
For Aldo.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite fighters growing up. Always looked up to him. I never thought that I would be in a position where I'm saying like, oh yeah, I'm ahead of Aldo. That being said though, if that's the fight, then that's the fight, you know.
Right.
I don't like having opinions about things. Opinions, I feel like, get you in a lot of trouble in this sport,
For sure.
and you know, sometimes in life too. So yeah, Aldo would be great, you know.
What
Do I
about
think
if, okay,
that
I'll throw another one out at you too, just out of curiosity, because I know you guys were linked in the past. If Dominic Cruz gets past Casey Kenney, is that an option for you? Would you want to fight him?
Definitely. That's an option too. And you know, it's a little bit weird because it seems like some things don't make sense, you know, with the rankings and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, the way that things operate now is if you are a big enough name and you can sell a lot of buys, then the probability of you getting a title shot is a lot higher. So I think that both of those names bring that to the table. And I think that, yeah, they, you know, if not a title or if not TJ, then yeah, maybe we would talk about that. But, you know, that would take some thinking over.
For sure. And then the numbers got to line up too, right? When it comes to the fight and all that. Another name I'll throw out, and I'm not even calling him an option really, because I don't feel he should be an option, but Cody Garbrandt still in this mix apparently. I know he had the flyweight title shot, he had some injuries. Now he's calling out some of these bigger names like Aldo. Do you think that's warranted, or do you think that he needs to take a few more? Because he was on a losing streak, right, before this.
I think Garbrandt has enough of a following, and he's going to sell enough tickets to where he has the juice to kind of call the shots a little bit. Okay. To be honest, I also know that the UFC really likes him.
Yeah, well, of course they were going to give him a title shot without having a win, right, at the weight class. So,
yep. Yeah, I think that Garbrandt is in a really good position with the UFC, and I think that he could probably fight whoever he wants. To be honest,
would you want to fight him? Is my question, because again, I think you're further ahead in the rankings, and like I said, I think he's lost 3 of 4. Do you feel like that's because you were talking about like the money fights? Does he fit that bill for you?
Yep, he definitely fits the bill too. I think, yeah, man, those 4 names that you said, Garbrandt, Aldo, Cruz, and TJ, you know. They're all talks.
Poor Rob Font, though, by the way, right? Like
poor Rob Font, you know, but he's in
I'm kidding, obviously. I like Rob a lot, by the way.
I feel for Font though, because he's going to have to go through the steps too a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I kind of had to.
Right.
And but I mean, Rob Font would be an awesome fight too. You know, he doesn't have as much name value as those other guys, but as far as like skills, Rob Font is he's very skilled. So yeah, but. I don't want to get too carried away with talking about too many hypothetical fights.
Of course,
all of those other guys. When I feel like we wanted a number 1 contender in this division, and I think I made myself a number 1 contender. So I think that's what I've earned that. And if it's not that, then I think that it should be the former champ Dillashaw.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just kind of getting a gauge of what type of fights make sense. So you said sort of those names are the title shot. I gotcha. That makes sense. Got 2 more quick questions for you, and then I'll get you out of here. I've asked you this before, but kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it again. The title fight coming up March 6th. It's coming up here pretty soon. Jan Sterling. Now that you've had some time to kind of, the fight's gone, your fight's gone. You don't even have to worry about anything else. Who do you think wins that? Are you going with Aldo, or are you going with Jan in that fight?
Last time we talked, what did I say?
I'm trying to remember. I feel like you said you might have said Aljo. I can't remember.
Yeah, I change it every single time, so I don't know.
Yeah, no worries. But where we're sitting today, February 18th, where do you see who do you see taking that? Because Jan, here's one little tidbit too that's interesting. Jan's at ATT now. I don't know if that makes a difference because he couldn't train at Tiger Muay Thai.
I know that, but I also think Aljamain switched camps too. I think he's training in Vegas right now. Also.
Yeah, no, he is.
Yep.
Good point. Yeah.
Yep. So they both switched camps. Man, I think Sterling's going to be able to wrestle Jan really good. I think Sterling's going to not even play the game of standing up with Jan. I think he's smart enough to do that. And I think it's going to be, hard to get Sterling off of him when he gets a hold of him. So, I mean, I gotta go with the wrestler. But if I had a coin, I would flip it. But yeah, let's go with Sterling just because I think that his wrestling advantage is going to be pretty significant.
Last and most important question is kind of a 2-part question. The bonus money, what are you doing with it? And did you take your girl out for a nice dinner on Valentine's Day?
I'm boring, man. I don't do anything exciting with my money. Most of it gets invested.
I was going to say, you seem like a guy to invest the money back in, right? So
Yeah, man. I think I'm probably going to get another place here and then rent the place that I have now because rates are super low in Colorado right now. So I'm probably going to go that route.
Doing the Curtis Blades School of Real Estate. Didn't he rent out his place? Wasn't it him, or was it Magny who rented it?
Magny. Magny has it. Yeah. I don't know that I want to rent it to a bunch of fighters like Neil did.
Probably pretty messy. Don't clean up
man,
after
I've been
themselves.
over to that house, man. It's it's
the truth
going
comes
like
out.
this.
Happy
It's
birthday,
going
Curtis!
down.
By the way, right, if he's watching. So
Yep. So yeah, man, I don't do really anything exciting. I'm pretty low maintenance.
but I saw you on the mountain, or was that an old pic with you and your girl? When you went up the mountain? Is that what you did on Valentine's Day?
So that was an old one. We just went to dinner for Valentine's Day.
Oh,
and
so you
then,
did go out then? Oh,
Yep. So we'll probably hit the mountains for a couple of days. I just kind of wanted a week back just for myself because I had been gone for 2 weeks. So yeah, we'll probably hit the mountains in a couple of weeks, and then that will be kind of my splurging is just probably 2 or 3 nights in the mountains.
good stuff, man. My wife's so jealous, by the way. She wants to hike right now, but a lot of stuff's closed, so it's a bummer.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for doing this, Cory. Really appreciate it. Again, I know you've done the rounds already. Just remind people where they can get a hold of you on social media, get that following up even more. And if you got anyone you want to thank, I'll give you the last word.
Yep, just enter the same man 135 on Instagram, and just watch my fights, man. That's what I care about. I want you guys to enjoy them, and that's it.